Before I start talking about film and television from 2023, I just want to real quick highlight the movement from the Actors Guild and Writers Guild when it comes to that union coming together to make sure that these people are paid what they deserve. I am a very, very big film person. You might not know this about me because I've never talked about it, but back when I was still in university, I studied film like crazy because I really wanted to be a film writer, but I don't know, situations never really turned out to where that was something I could pursue as a career. I wish it was something that I could say I tried and wasn't good at, but I just genuinely was never able to get into it. And I've always had a passion for the work and effort that goes into a film and putting out a certain vision into an audience. So last year when the writer's strike and actor strike started, there were a lot of really interesting films I wanted to talk about that I didn't feel was right to discuss because I felt like I would just be highlighting movies and television for giant corporations to steal all that money from their workers. So now that that has been resolved, I'm really glad that the actors and writers have been able to get what they deserve, and hopefully this won't be an issue moving forward, but we all know that's not the case. They've had to strike many and many times. This was not the first, and it will not be the last. But I hope that their efforts were a little eye-opening for people who feel they're not getting paid what they're worth. Unionization is a great thing, and I think we should all support unionization efforts in all industries. That's my political talk for 2024. Let's move on to the great movies. But first, we start with the disappointing ones. So like I said, don't like to waste my time with things, but sometimes that's inevitable. Unlike with TV shows, I don't have any bad TV shows on my list because that requires an effort I'm not willing to put into it. Movies are typically only 2 to 3 hours of my time, and I just have to watch them. And there were certain movies I wanted to see because I was interested in what the outcome of those films would be. Here are what I felt were the most disappointing films for me of 2023. Obviously, there are worse films probably than the ones I'm listing here, but this is what I put up with. Ant-Man 3. If you don't know, there is a video on this one. I believe I put this out before the strike. Ant-Man 3 fucking sucked ass. If you want my deep explanation of the plot, like I said, you can go to my Ant-Man 3 video. But holy crap, was it bad. I loved Ant-Man 1 and 2. I'm a huge comic book nerd, so comic book movies to me are just fun to watch. It's just watching the pages on the big screen. I don't know how they managed to do it, but they took a fun movie and turned it into just poorly written, badly acted schlock. The jokes aren't funny. They're just poorly written jokes. The plot is very stupid. It's using a character that, at that point in time, we only known as a loser. Kang was not a strong villain, and he's the villain they're trying to build up for, their new phase 4 or 5 of the Marvel Universe. But unlike with previous Marvel movies where, they had a villain, they built him up, made him menacing, and then moved on to the next big bad, while building up that big bad in movies, they kind of just put him in Ant-Man and then had him lose. He also lost in Loki. He's in Loki, as a spoiler, Loki's good, but he's in Loki, and loses in that too. So you've got this 2-time loser that they're trying to build a whole next Avengers movie around without really doing the work to build him up as a threat. It was just so poor. MODOK sucked. Just everything sucked. Like I said, check out my video if you want a more deep explanation of my feelings at the time, because I literally recorded that after watching the movie. But God, was that kind of the epitome of what is wrong with Marvel movies in the current era. Another superhero movie that fucking sucked was The Flash. I didn't get too into The Flash. I really wanted to talk about it, but I couldn't at the time. The Flash was a movie that has been in development hell forever, and then it finally came out. And people were hyping this movie up, and by people, I mean paid shills from different magazine reviewers, saying that this movie was just going to change superhero movies as we knew it. This was a different kind of superhero movie. It's better than you even realize. Well, when you go to see it, it's just as trash as you expected and not better than you realize. It's actually just as bad as you assumed. Ezra Miller, who should have gotten that movie canned from his horrible antics outside of the film, is just not a good Barry Allen. And this movie has two of him. He's annoying as shit. He's not a fun character that you want to relate to. The plot is trying to use this like multiverse thing that all movies are doing to get you really into it. And I'm not gonna lie, I mainly went to see that movie because I wanted to see me some Keaton Batman. You know, I love Michael Keaton Batman. He was great. Michael Keaton is a great actor, so I wanted to see him be Batman one more time. He's fine in that movie. Everything else is just meaningless. The bad guy is a stupid trope that you see coming a mile away. They bring back Zod for like no reason, and he has no characterization other than I'm bad alien man who's gonna blow up the earth. Like the nuance in Zod from Man of Steel is just gone. The CGI really felt like it wanted to be similar to how Sony's X-Men movies did Quicksilver, with, you know, how they had like his time in a bottle thing, and then the second one he had some other song that he did while getting everyone out of a exploding building. It feels like they tried to recreate that feel, especially with the opening scene where he's trying to save a bunch of people in a hospital that's collapsing. It's a cool visual, but it's just not as effective, I feel, as what you got with Quicksilver from the X-Men franchise. So because you have this main character that is insufferable, that you don't love, and you have to go through this whole movie experiencing this character try to be endearing to you, it's just not a good movie. The plot, oh my god, the plot is silly. It's like Barry Allen, it tries to do what the Flashpoint comic did, which is Barry Allen goes back in time to save his mother, and it causes horrible ramifications. But that is the only similarities it has to Flashpoint. From there, it's just Barry doesn't have his powers, but he gives powers to his past self, and it's all the annoying stuff with Barry because it's young Barry, not like older Barry has to be the mature one in the situation, and young Barry's just insufferable. And then in the end, I don't know, I think like time breaks or whatever, and you end up finding out, oh, the big villain is Barry. I know I didn't say, oh, spoilers, but you're not missing anything with this movie. It fucking sucks. And they had the gall to use CGI references to old DC properties that never came into fruition, or did come into fruition, but they were too lazy to get the rights from some of those actors, so they just use AI. It's so trash. And then they have the gall also at the end of the movie to be like, oh, things are still messed up. What does that mean? And it's like, it doesn't mean shit. Dude, this whole DC Universe thing that you have going on is canceled, so we're not moving forward with anything you tease here. Fuck The Flash. It fucking sucked. Throw it in the trash. I never want to see Ezra Miller in anything again. Well, like I said, Michael Keaton was good. It's worth it if you want to see Michael Keaton's probable last time being Batman. And then this is just a dud of a movie. I'm only putting it on here because I'm noticing a trend with some of this stuff, especially with mascot horror in film. Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey. I thought maybe they might try to do something subversive given that Winnie the Pooh went into public domain. Oh, maybe they, this is a horror movie using Winnie the Pooh. While I think it was a cheap cash grab on face value, I thought maybe this movie would do something unique with the IP. And it doesn't. It's just edgy Winnie the Pooh. It's like Christopher Robins. He has to leave the 100-acre woods, and because he never comes back, all the animal friends like Winnie and Tigger and all them go feral and start eating people. The costumes look terrible. It doesn't look anything. It doesn't invoke anything about Winnie the Pooh other than it's like, yeah, I can tell that's horror monster Winnie, but it's just like very soulless. There's no substance to or not substance. There's no reverence to the original source material with this movie. I wouldn't even say watch it for a passive curiosity, because that's why I watched it, and it's still disappointing. There is nothing to enjoy with that movie, and I can't wait for the Steamboat Willie horror movie to be just as fucking soulless. Honestly, I don't think this is a great trend, but it's honestly a trend that's been going on for a while. Like, if you look in the cheap horror section of any streaming service, you can see all sorts of knockoff movies that try to reference some more popular media property only to have a soulless horror version of it. It sucks. I believe Alvin the Alien did a whole breakdown of the movie. If you're interested in knowing the plot and details for why it's bad, I think watching him is way better than trying to watch that movie. I haven't watched his video, so it could be bad for all I know, but I've watched a lot of his videos, and I think he does a good job summarizing the good and bad of those kind of movies. And now on to the good films that you must watch from 2024. Oh my god, this video is going to be so long. I've tried to be brief with everything, but god damn. We still got a lot to get through, guys. So let's start with the Bing Bing Wahoo the movie. God, Super Mario Bros. The movie, I have mixed feelings on. While I love it, and it absolutely deserves to be in the top 10 movies to be released from last year, it was a very basic plot. It didn't try to do anything new with the Mario Brothers property. It really played it safe a lot of the movie. But I think I was okay with that because it does everything else so well. The world building is amazing. The CGI is beautiful. The music is great, but, and my wife also noticed this too, because she's a huge Donkey Kong fan, it is very clear that in some moments they replaced the kind of original Nintendo score with some iconic pop music. This is very notable in the Donkey Kong scenes. I forget what the song is they play that is very, very like, I don't know if it's like Take On Me or whatever, it's something, but while it works with that scene, in the original release soundtrack for the original release, what am I talking about? In the original soundtrack for Super Mario Bros. The movie, there's like a whole track that's like a medley of Donkey Kong songs that someone put over that scene and was like, this really feels like this song was meant for this scene. And if you were a Donkey Kong fan, which my wife is, you would have loved that. So I kind of didn't like the more corporate media kind of changes that movie had, but they still worked. I'm not saying like it was bad. It was just something I noticed that I didn't like as much. I kind of wish they just stuck to the original Nintendo Mario Donkey Kong music and didn't put in like popular music. But I digress. I love the movie. You know, I thought Chris Pratt was fine as Mario. I don't think he's terrible, but I don't think he was as good as all of the other actors portraying their roles. I think Seth Rogen surprised me with how good he was with Donkey Kong and really putting out a good, cocky Donkey Kong personality. Like, to me, I was like, yeah, that's fucking Donkey Kong. Charlie Day is Luigi. Charlie Day's voice, especially if you watch It's Always Sunny, his like kind of manic, panic kind of voice works great for Luigi. I was really glad for the screen time that Luigi got, but I did feel that I wanted more Mario and Luigi interactions, especially at the beginning and end of that movie. They really wrote their dialogue together to be very charming and endearing. They felt like brothers, they have brotherly love, and they are just great when they're on screen together. I loved all of the references. There are a ton of references from the start to the end. I'm really interested, and maybe one day I'll do a short video on it, because I am interested where the story that Mario and Luigi are from Brooklyn, New York kind of started. Like, it really does seem like that was an American decision we made, but I don't know why that became a thing. 'Cause it's not like Japan was like, yeah, Mario's from Brooklyn and he found the Mushroom Kingdom going into a pipe in the sewers. Like, that's really weird, you know, but still, it's fun. They go with what you probably know as the Mario story. Bowser talking has been a point of contention in the Mario fan base, I feel. I forget if it was Sunshine where he talked, or if it was Mario Galaxy. I think it was Sunshine he talked. And the voice they got just didn't work for Bowser. It was serviceable, but not what I want Bowser to sound like. They really got it down with Jack Black. I feel like they maybe did some modulation with his voice to give him a more gruff, deep Bowser-y voice, but it worked. And they characterized Bowser the way he should be characterized. He's obsessed with dating Princess Peach. That's what all of Mario Odyssey was all about. Like I said, this movie was perfect, considering that the only Mario movie we really had was the live action one. And while it has a warm place in my heart, it is a terrible adaptation of the Mario Brothers. For me to tell you to see this, I don't feel like I need to, because it's very, very obvious you have probably seen this movie. And if you haven't, you are cheating yourself. This movie's amazing, and I cannot wait to see what we get with another Super Mario Brother movie, as well as the Zelda movie that's in the works. I have a lot of faith for both of these properties moving forward when it comes to their cinema debuts and futures. And I hope that the next Mario movie focuses on Mario and Luigi being together. And maybe throw a little bit more Toad in there. I didn't mind Toad. So I shit on superhero movies for a bit there, but let's talk about a good superhero movie. And that was Guardians 3. I'm going to be honest, I definitely have superhero fatigue. I would at one point in time watch every Marvel product that came out, and now I find myself going, oh, here's an episode or two, didn't do it, or here's a couple minutes, didn't really do it. I can wait for streaming or I can pirate it, you know? Like, I'm not that dedicated to watching a lot of Marvel movies like I was before. And like I said, I genuinely, like I said before, I think it's due to the quality has diminished in these movies. I don't think they're putting the effort into building a good cinematic universe like they did for all of the movies leading up to Avengers Endgame. It's been very lackluster, and I've been disappointed to see. That said, Guardians 3 was, for me, a really good farewell for a specific era of the Marvel movies. I believe this was James Gunn's last film with Marvel due to some nonsense that got him released from working with Marvel Studios, which was a mistake on Marvel's part, let me tell you, because DC swooped him up. He put out Peacemaker. Woo! Peacemaker was good. I don't know if Peacemaker came out last year, but I didn't put Peacemaker on my list, but Peacemaker's really good if you haven't seen it. Anyway, Guardians 3 really felt like a send-off for James Gunn's time with Marvel. This one really hit the vibe of, we're a bunch of misfits and we're a makeshift family, and that's what we are. This movie doesn't care about any of the other Marvel bullshit going on. It may reference it, but it really just tries to be its own thing and a proper send-off for these characters if they never get another movie moving forward. I doubt they'll not get another movie because Guardians is so popular, but it definitely comes off as this is their final send-off. It really focuses a lot on the story of Rocket Raccoon, how he met Groot, and why he really connects with the Guardians so much. I think as a standalone film, it's perfect. I don't want to spoil too much about it, because if you haven't seen it, I think you will really enjoy the heart and soul that goes into this movie. I think the CGI is great. It's colorful in a really cool way. I really like the part where it just looks like they're all a bunch of Among Us characters in space, just because it's just a cool visual seeing them in these colorful outfits just bouncing in outer space. I will say, I think there is some story missing when you start the movie, because I went into that movie assuming that Gamora was dead or something. I forgot what happened to her. I didn't really look it up to see before I went to watch it, but she's back in this movie. I think there was something that maybe happened in maybe the Guardians of the Galaxy holiday special, but I can't confirm that for sure because I didn't watch that. Like I said, I'm not trying to watch every single one of these things. But yeah, it's about how Gamora's back and she doesn't have her memories of any of the previous adventures. Peter's depressed because the woman he loved doesn't remember him. And Mantis and Drax are kind of having a cool, fun bond in this movie. Check it out. It's worth it if you want to, honestly, what I feel is a great movie send-off for the Marvel franchise as a whole, because honestly, nothing has been that good this year coming out of Marvel. So yeah, if you want one Marvel movie to watch, check out Guardians of the Galaxy 3. But that's really all I have to say about superhero movies when it comes to their quality this year. Barbie and Oppenheimer. I did the Barbieheimer thing. Did you do the Barbieheimer thing? Did you do that weird organic love of Barbenheimer that people online really got into? And corporations are probably going to try to repeat that weird bubble of excitement artificially in media moving forward, meaning it will never be as impactful as the fun Barbenheimer experience was. I'm not. These two movies kind of took the world by storm, but at the end of the day, I need to talk about them separately because they don't have anything to do with each other. They were just a moment in cinema history that probably, like I said, won't be replicated. Barbie was great. Barbie, it's a movie you can turn your brain off to. You can take some kids to, and they'll have a good time. While at the same time, adults will get a lot out of it. It very much clearly has reverence for the history of Barbie while trying to talk about gender roles and dynamics in society in a way that Barbie was supposed to, but like really when you look at it, it didn't in the real world. Like the whole premise is that, you know, Barbie lives in a world where women get it done, men are eye candy, and Barbies are all the greatest. They're all the senator positions. They're all the, you know, doctors and lawyers and cops. And all the Kens are just like, you know, they're attractive. They're the accessories to Barbie. And due to weird story reasons, they go to the real world and Ken sees, oh crap, this world is dominated by the patriarchy. That's awesome. I'm going to take what I learned back to Barbieville. And it's funny because like a lot of the Barbies are like, I don't mind this. This is cool. I'm subservient to the men, and all the men are like, this is great. We're on top now. This is, why haven't we been doing this? But then it's like, oh, the Barbies are brainwashed from this toxic masculinity. It's very, very funny. I don't think it's like kind of a preachy political thing. I think it's just political due to the nature of the like plot, but it's very funny. I think Ryan Gosling as Ken is great. Ryan Gosling continues to show why he has a range of acting abilities from comedy to drama. Margot Robbie plays a very fun Barbie. She's so good. I really thought she played her role well as a character who's like, I've known myself in this role and there's something wrong. I was laughing. Like, it's very rare that I will laugh very hard in a theater while watching a movie, but I was laughing constantly. I thought it was really great when she's like, hey guys, so does anyone else think about death? And everyone's like, what? And she's like, don't worry about it, guys. It's like in your happy Barbie world, and she's like thinking of death and stuff. It's a really good movie. I'd be surprised you haven't seen it. I think it's on Max right now. They're advertising the hell of it, out of it. So check out Barbie if you haven't. It's also beautiful. I don't know if it's true or not, but I did remember reading an article saying that like there was a shortage on industrial pink paint because of how much pink paint they used for this set. This set looks like a toy Barbie world. Like if this is a practical set where all of this is real, there's no CGI with the exception of maybe like background vistas and things like that, they did wonders with the set design. This feels like a real lived-in plastic world and it's fun. It's exciting. John Cena's in it for a bit. Doesn't have an important role. He's just there in the background, but John Cena was there. I loved Barbie. It was fun. I am not excited for the precedent that Barbie has set with future movies, as now apparently they're trying to make a Hot Wheels movie and other Mattel-based product movies, where to me, unless you have someone that really has a soul and love for the media of Barbie, I don't know how amazing a Hot Wheels movie would be. But, you know, I'm willing to give it a shot. Oppenheimer was on the complete opposite spectrum when it comes to movies tonally. Oppenheimer is what you would expect from a Christopher Nolan film. It is a very good character breakdown of Oppenheimer and everything that went into the development of the atom bomb. Now, I'm going to sit here and be real. I'm not a historian. I can't tell you that this movie is as historically accurate to the development of the atom bomb and the history of all of the characters portrayed in it. There might be some things that are clearly sensationalized for movie audiences, but, you know, I haven't really seen anyone super critical of this movie and its portrayal of the situation. If you want a good character study on Oppenheimer, I think this is at least a very entertaining one at the very least. When we first see Oppenheimer in the film, it is immediately brought to the attention of the audience that Oppenheimer is a disturbed individual. He tries to kill his lecturer. He puts a poisoned apple on his desk, expecting his lecturer to eat that apple. And then it's only after he realizes what he's done that he goes and gets that apple back so his lecturer doesn't eat it and die, and he gets charged with murder. You know, he's a very unfaithful man to his wife. He's built differently neurologically, you know? He has visions of a future science world that he wants to achieve, but to reach that goal, he effectively has to create a weapon that's going to destroy the world. Cillian Murphy plays this role of Oppenheimer perfectly. I've not seen him in anything else. I think there's like some show, maybe it's called Peaky Blinders. I've never watched it, but I hear he's great in that. But this is my first time seeing him in anything, so I'm excited to see him in other works because he is a great drama actor. There's a lot of very well-known actors in it, like Robert Downey Jr. and Matt Damon are both, you know, very great in their roles. Emily Blunt's in it as well, playing Oppenheimer's wife, and she plays Oppenheimer's wife, let me tell you. It's a good movie. I watched it while under illicit substances, so like I kind of liked some of the visual elements that they would have. Like they would have early on him like closing his eyes and he's envisioning particles kind of hitting each other and rapidly moving in the universe. Overall, it's just a good movie that doesn't insult your intelligence. I wish I had more to say about it because it is a movie that I think you can deconstruct in a very nuanced way. I don't think I want to spend that time deconstructing it. Look how long this video is. We've talked about how long this video is. We're not done yet, people. We keep going. We got more movies. Watch Oppenheimer, though. Hello, viewer. You're probably finding yourself strapped in front of your computer wondering why you're watching this video. You seem to not understand the hard work that goes into producing videos like this on a monthly basis. In this room are small vents that will seep a deadly nerve gas, killing you instantly. However, if in the next 60 seconds you were able to use that mouse to, instead of click away from this video, click on the subscribe button, you may have a chance to breathe another sigh of relief. Live or die, viewer. The choice is yours. I love Saw. I love the Saw franchise. I know, the Saw franchise is just dumb schlock, but it only needs like a couple things for me to really enjoy it. I genuinely don't care if the Saw plot is good or not. I just want like Jigsaw, convoluted traps related to people's morality that they may or may not get out of. The traps are brutal and gory, sadly. They have to be. And a big reveal in the end that the main person dealing with these traps could have got out of it if they just were compassionate or cared. And then the, game over with the big, the Saw music that I kind of played here a bit ago. I really hope that doesn't get me DMCA'd. That music is iconic. I have to hear that music at the end of the movie to feel a sigh of relief, and it just hits the endorphins in all of the right ways. So Saw X met all of my expectations and then some. The story for Saw X wasn't that bad. It's kind of silly given the main character, Jigsaw, died in the 3rd movie, and this is like the 10th Saw movie, but they make it work. It's set between, I believe, Saw 1 and 2, and it's just him getting revenge on people who promised to cure his cancer, and it turns out they were just a bunch of grifters with like fake science, and they're scamming people. So he's going to kill these people, and I think that is much more justified than in, I don't know what Saw movie it was, 4 or 5, where a bunch of people that work for the insurance company that denied his coverage to be able to get a very rare and unproven cancer treatment. Yeah, he just kills all of them. And it's like, those people were, while they were doing their job, and it's a sick job, some of those people were literally just doing their job. They weren't doing it for like the money or to be cruel. And they would be in traps that they themselves couldn't get out. Another dude had to get them out, the owner of the company. It just didn't feel like a Jigsaw-like trap, and I didn't like it. Well, this feels very much Jigsaw. The chick from the 2nd movie, Amanda, she's in this, reprising her role. And this is one of the few times, because we kind of knew from like Saw 2 and 3 that they were working together, but we didn't really know to what extent. So this just gives us more visuals that they had done things together, and this is one of the things that they had done together, one of their games that they had done. It's good. They play the Saw music in the end. They do the game over. I love it. It's going to suck when this actor dies who plays Jigsaw. You know, John Kramer, Tobin Bell. He's so old. And unlike other horror franchises where you have Jason, Freddy Krueger, people that are wearing a mask, Jigsaw is somewhat tied to his voice and look. And it's going to be hard to see this series moving forward once he passes. If you want to watch a fun, schlocky, dumb series, maybe watch the Saw series. I don't think you have to really enjoy it, and I don't expect everyone to enjoy it, but I had to bring it up because Saw is just so schlocky, so silly, and is one of those media properties that I think I just have a guilty pleasure of. Speaking of another movie that you really just have to be into to the series to enjoy, Five Nights at Freddy's the movie. Man, did this movie take forever to come out. I remember back when Scott Cawthon talked about some of the rejected scripts for the Five Nights at Freddy's movie, one of which I believe was that Nicolas Cage movie. I don't remember what it was called. I'm putting footage of it up here, obviously, and you can see. But this movie had a real problem getting a good script that was faithful to what fans wanted. And I've got to say, even though I genuinely think the movie is a bad movie, it is faithful to what you would want as a fan, and that is why I enjoyed it. If you're not a fan of the movie, there's just going to be a lot of plot holes and things that don't make sense or things that they don't explain well, because I think they were expecting audiences familiar with the source material to be the primary viewers for this film. Like, for instance, the main antagonist, William Afton, it's really not explained in the movie what his deal is. Like, why was he killing kids? Is he the one that was killing kids? I mean, he's admitting it kind of, but why? And what's the deal? And how was he able to like hide himself? That said, I think the animatronics are amazing. They got the Jim Henson Company, I believe, to make those animatronics. So those animatronics look like you would want the animatronics to look if they were real. I think all the characters were fine. Like, for me to say that this was a deeply well acted out, movie would be a lie, but it's not poor either. It's just serviceable. Everything is just serviceable. And tons of references everywhere. MatPat from Game Theory's in it. There are some other YouTubers that are in that movie that make some small cameos. Tons of small references to other little Easter eggs in the Five Nights at Freddy's franchise. I will say, if you just want like a schlocky B-tier movie to watch as a horror aficionado, I think you will find some enjoyment from this film, as it does try to do the mascot horror thing right, unlike the Nicolas Cage movie that really was just a bad adaptation of what that type of horror is supposed to be. This really does it right. It did very well. I'm expecting a Five Nights at Freddy's 2 to come out. And really, it was what fans of Five Nights at Freddy's wanted. So even though it's not a good movie, I can't say it's a bad movie, because it was what I wanted as a huge Five Nights at Freddy's fan. I know you guys might not know this because I have no Five Nights at Freddy's videos on my channel, but I have a doctorate in Five Nights at Freddy's. I have watched tons and tons of videos talking about the lore, Easter eggs, story, having only played 10 minutes of the first Five Nights at Freddy's game because I'm a baby afraid of jump scares. I wish I could enjoy the Five Nights at Freddy's games. I just physically can't, and it sucks. So I enjoy the lore and story. And even the modern lore and story I hate, I don't enjoy. But there is something to the nostalgia of these mascot horror games, of, you know, going to old Chuck E. Cheese's and things like that, that really resonates with me. So that's why I'm so obsessed with it. It's probably one of my few hyperfixations that I probably shouldn't have. I'll never make a detailed video about any of the Five Nights at Freddy's lore or plot because I don't want that energy on my channel. But hey, if you like it, just know I like it. And who knows, maybe one day I'll talk more about Five Nights at Freddy's. But definitely one of my favorite movies from last year as a Five Nights at Freddy's fan. I want to stay in the realm of horror real quick and just talk about the unique horror movie that was Skinamarink. Skinamarink turns horror conventions on its head and kind of really leans into the Alfred Hitchcock way of storytelling, which is show, don't tell. It was written and directed by Kyle Edward Ball. I believe he had a YouTube channel, and this was initially maybe some sort of short that got expanded upon into a full feature-length movie. Don't go into this movie expecting traditional conventions when it comes to storytelling. A lot of Skinamarink is about just making you feel unsettled. The best way I've heard it described is a horror situation from the eyes of children. Like, let's say, you know, you're in some sort of weird, unknown paranormal situation. We know maybe how an adult would react to that, but how would a kid react to that? How would a kid react to waking up in the middle of the night and all of the windows and doors in the house just magically disappeared? And there's no electricity except for the TV in the main room. And weird things and voices are happening. And you're just not sure what's going on. It's creepy because it's just unsettling. I love what Skinamarink does as a horror aficionado. It's definitely a movie to be watched in the dark. You can watch it with friends or not. And just take it in. It's all about the mood and ambiance of just making you feel uncomfortable. Movies like this deserve praise because it wasn't a big budget movie. It wasn't a movie that tried to fit some sort of corporate narrative. It was just one person's vision made to perfection. I don't think it's a movie that really needs a sequel, and I really hope it doesn't get like Paranormal Activity to death, where there's tons of trash sequel movies. But I would love to see more from Ball, and I think he is a very great filmmaker in the genre of horror. Finally, on the list of great films from 2013, and this one got in late. I probably wasn't going to talk about it, but I ended up watching it not that long ago, is The Iron Claw. This is a movie based on a true story about the Von Erich family in the world of wrestling. Now, as I'll get to in a bit, and I don't know if anyone knows, I love wrestling. It's comic books come to life. And the story of the Von Erichs, if you're unfamiliar with it, is extremely tragic. While often referred to as a cursed family, it's far from the case. The family isn't cursed. It's a story about a father who is extremely abusive in a way that really wasn't seen as abuse back in that era. Fritz von Erich was very hard on his children. Fritz never held the NWA title, but his children were all gifted wrestlers, and his push to live through his children vicariously, to make them stars, to make wrestling every part of their lives, drove them to insane depression and suicide for a lot of them. Three of the brothers in the families ended up taking their own lives, and the star of the family injured himself in a way he couldn't continue to wrestle. Each of the family members dealt with horrible depression and burdens put on them by their father. And to call it a curse would be disrespectful to the real situation that those young men went through their lives as children to adults. I do think that if the Von Erich children had a father that didn't push them to such a degree and just loved them for who they were and didn't make being a top star all there is to be in their lives, they would probably still be here with us. To give you an example of how bad this situation was, Kerry Von Erich, who was one of the Von Erich brothers, got into an accident when he was younger, which caused him to basically have to amputate his right foot. This is a big deal in the world of wrestling, where you have to be able to move on your feet to be able to put on a performance. It horribly impacted his career, but because, like I said, he came from a family with a father that was pushing him to be a star, he kept working. And this is back in the 80s. So a lot of the real life behind the scenes knowledge of wrestling wasn't very well known. So he would go out and still perform with people using a fake leg, and audiences were none the wiser. But he couldn't go the way he used to go. He couldn't perform the way he used to perform. I believe he made it to WWE, but he was just not as good in WWE. WWE didn't see him the way that he was seen back in his home promotion, under his father. Kerry ended up taking his own life after being let go from the WWE. It sucked. I mean, it rocked the wrestling world. And like I said, he was not the only one to suffer. I think A24 has been putting out amazing movies, and this was one where they did their best to respect the legacy of the Von Erichs. The Von Erich family, Kevin Von Erich, was heavily involved with the development of this movie. I will say there were certain things that I don't think the movie did a great job with. I think they focused too much on the curse aspect of the Von Erichs and not really the toxicity of the father. If anything, the father was treated a little bit better than he should have been. They tried to acknowledge, his toxicity in what happened to his sons, but it's really not delved in that deeply or really elaborated on that deeply. Also, they had to leave out one of the brothers' deaths because it's kind of hard to have a movie where people are offing themselves repeatedly. It's a hard movie to watch, but very impactful. I definitely recommend you watch it if you want to see what it was like for wrestlers in this era. I don't think the Von Erichs were a unique case in the wrestling industry at the time. They were just the extreme of it. Wrestlers' bodies and minds suffered because of just the toxicity and dark side of wrestling. Definitely check out Dark Side of the Ring if you want to see more about this kind of history in wrestling. And I believe the Von Erich story is free on YouTube to watch if you want to check out a more realistic telling of the story of the Von Erich family. But again, one of my favorite movies from last year. that is all for my video on film and my best of for the year. I actually have a lot more audio about things I wanted to talk about for the end of the year, but this was taking too much time to complete, and there are other topics and videos I want to do content on that aren't best of the year. So I apologize that this video took forever to get out and that rest of this content isn't going to get discussed, but that's life sometimes. I was kind of busy because I finally got a job, so that's cool. Job's coming up. That means content on the channel is going to slow down extremely slowly. I'm going to be doing a lot of traveling around the United States for this job, so it'll keep me away from my computer for editing, but I'm probably just going to change up the format of how I do videos, and I know that might be a little upsetting for some people, but this is the only way I'm going to be able to keep getting content out for this channel. A lot of it might just me talking directly to a camera with a mic, but I'm going to try to do more videos that are more deep dives into things I like. I really want to talk about Fortnite and Mega Man Legends. Like, those are my two big videos I really want to work on. It's just, it might be a while before either of those get out due to certain life-changing situations. So that's good. If you stick around, I'm definitely happy that I have you. And I do want to make one more video before I start my job where I want to talk about the anniversary of this channel and everything, because it's been over a year since I started. I guess I could talk about that now. There's no real need to make a separate video, but I'm really happy at the content I've put out over a year. Sure, my editing has not been good. It's been it could be better, but I'm just really happy about all the videos and things that I put out. They're very entertaining to me and friends of mine who have checked some of them out. So I'm glad if you like them and have, liked and subscribed to the channel. Hey, that means a lot to me. I don't know where the channel will go from here, given that I have a job now, but I don't expect it to die. Don't expect me to just disappear into the nothingness. I will be putting out more stuff. It's just going to be harder to get out. And yeah, year one of the channel, it's really dope. I don't know what year two has in store. It'll be very weird, but stick around and you can explore that weirdness with me. Till next time, remember to always love yourself. And I will see you in the next one. Later.